Okay, I want to start our meeting tonight. So welcome everyone. I am Ellie Wyndham and I'm the founder and program manager for Walking in Other People's Shoes. I'm based in Brooklyn, New York, and Walking Other People's Shoes strives to empower women of color voices by providing transformative experiences through storytelling and community. We're happy that you are here to join us for our Multicultural Children's Book Club. This is a free virtual book club, and it's for children, parents, and educators who are interested in diving deeper into themed activities and concepts around race, identity, and culture. Additionally, we also share usually a themed activity, but tonight we will have a special guest. And then we also share snack ideas. We usually have two facilitators. The other facilitator who's not here, her name is Ruth. And Ruth Perez is the facilitator for the activities. And she's is a sophomore in college at Lehman College. And she's studying speech pathology and audiology, followed with a master's in speech pathology. And those degrees will allow her to continue her work in working in schools, providing extra support in speech to students with special needs. And she's based in the Bronx. And then our main facilitator tonight is Mia Wen Chen. And she is our facilitator who helps to really put all this together. And then she blogs on parenting, children's books, and education at pragmaticmom.com. She's also the co-creator for the Multicultural Children's Book Day. And it's a nonprofit celebrating diversity in children's books. She's based in the Boston area. And so I would love to hand it off to Mia. She will introduce you to the theme of the month and then the book and the authors. So I hope guys enjoy.
All right, thank you so much, Ellie, and welcome everyone. Thank you so much for coming. Oh. That was a little bit of the street, the sounds of the street. So this month in July, we're basically celebrating environmental protection. And there's like 2 holidays for that. And we're using this really beautiful book, We Are Water Protectors by Carole Lindstrom, who is here with us. And she's our special guest, waving. Thank you, thank you. It's illustrated by Michaela Gould. And it's got this very striking sticker, which is the Caldecott, which it won recently. And so my giveaway is actually, it's all about sort of clean water. So my giveaway is this Swell water bottle. And it is a special edition where they commissioned Native American artists. And this piece of art came from, let's see, the Latimer Gallery. Yeah, so it's all about clean water. And so let me, so normally I have a snack, but this is all about water. And I actually thought about you can get things to add to water, but I went to the grocery store and they didn't look that healthy. And so I was like, you know what, it's about clean water, so it's just water. And I know my kids personally are obsessed with Swell water bottles, so I thought they would approve. And I just thought it was so beautiful too. It's like has sort of this, earthy, natural, like a tree. So let's get started. So I'm just going to read some of the pages to give you a gist of the story, mostly because I don't want to violate copyright, but feel free to either get this book out of your library or purchase a copy because it is a beautiful and really important book, and I think you guys will all really enjoy it. Okay, so first page I want to share with you is this. water is the first medicine, Nokomis told me. So Nokomis, I just looked it up. It means grandmother or daughter of the moon. And in Ojibwe traditional stories, Nokomis is Nana, I just looked it up, Nana Buzho's grandmother. And Nana Buzho is a trickster and cultural hero spirit. So you can kind of think of him as kind of like a Native American Loki. And so here she is with her grandmother, and you can just see everyone sort of enjoying, the clean water. We come from water. It nourished us inside our mother's body, and it nourishes us here on Mother Earth. Water is sacred, she said. And here you can see. Okay, now, my people talk of a black snake that will destroy the land. And the black snake is part of the folklore. And it's interesting because it's sort of like this prediction, and it's related to really industrialization, but it's an ancient sort of, like folk tale. And I thought it was sort of incredible how, it's sort of like someone that can foretell the future, right? But then in the illustration, it's so, the black snake adapts. So, it's depicted so clearly as, sort of this pipeline. I thought that was a really brilliant way to sort of tie everything together. Now the black snake is here. Its venom burns the land, courses through the water, making it unfit to drink. And then you see here kind of the snake morphing into the pipeline. Okay, and then you have this little girl, this young girl who's so courageous. And I just wanted to point out too that now that she's sort of in activist mode, you see her wearing the ribbon skirt. And that is a reference to her Ojibwe culture. And there were a lot of small details like that that were, sort of like Easter eggs put into the illustrations by Michaela Gould, which I thought brilliant too. And she references in the illustrator endnote, so you can read all the other references she puts in, and you can go back and find them. We fight for those who cannot fight for themselves, the winged ones, the crawling ones, the four-legged, the two-legged, the plants, trees, rivers, and lakes. And every spread is just so gorgeous. And the words are so lyrical as well. It really is like a book where you're just like, everything is like, there's just no way to improve upon it. And so it's the four-legged, the two-legged, the plants, trees, rivers, lakes, the earth. We are all related. We are stewards of the earth. Our spirits have not been broken. We are water protectors. We stand. The black snake is in for the fight of its life. And so if anyone who followed the stand against the Standing Rock and the fight against the pipeline, it was a fight that was, very dangerous for those who stood in the way. Not only were there arrests, but there was violence against the Native Americans. But I would say it was also very heartening to see how the whole world came together to support this cause for clean water. And I think we all did what we could, since those of us who couldn't be there, did what we could to support and share and donate money. And so there's more notes on the back about the Native American beliefs about how there's, two paths you can go. And it's like, it's so pertinent now, right? So there's sort of like, we take care of our earth. And right now we're in the biggest fight of our lives too, for those who are, studying climate change. And, and it's very much like, we're fighting almost like, like a fighting good and evil, where, there's two clear sides and a battle for, protecting our Mother Earth, and all kinds of drama. Because anyone who's following the Supreme Court rulings, the most recent ones right before they broke for their break, was a ruling that really sought to dismantle the EPA, Environmental Protection Agency. When we're sort of at our, midnight hour trying to combat, the devastation of global warming. So I mean, even more so, like the whole story of, it can be very disheartening, but I think what's so great about this story is to see how every single person can make a difference. You don't have to be an adult even, you can be a child. And in fact, our guest is from Standing Rock, from the Sioux, representing them. And she's going to talk about what we can do. Like if you're a child, what are things that you can do to be a water protector? And I think like in the face of something that feels very like overwhelming and depressing and like, oh my God, what can we do? It seems like, so pressing and overwhelming. I think to step back and say, okay, there's things that I can do personally as just one person or as a mother or as a child. And, I think if everyone does one or two little things, like as you can see from this book, it can have a huge impact. And so I hope that's what everyone will take away today. And that's what we're sort of going to get deeper into. So I'll pass it back to Ellie to introduce our next speaker.
Hi, everyone. So we got a very special speaker, and she just came on while Mia was speaking. And just so hopefully I can pronounce your name correctly. I'm so sorry, but
Nijoni. Yeah,
Yes.
Nijoni, that's right.
Thank you. So yeah, we would love, you to speak about, a little bit about yourself and your organization and how children can make an impact. So yeah, please do.
And even just the experience, like
Yeah.
from your perspective of, faced with this, dire situation, like how were you feeling and what did you do and how has that whole battle been and where are we at now and what more can we do to help?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much for having me. I was having some Wi-Fi issues, so I hope there's not too much street noise or background noise, and I hope I have good connection. But ya'ate and hello, Nijonabike Yinishye, Nakai Nishle Hashklishni Bashishchi, Nakai Dashache Torechini Dashanale. My name is Nijoni Bigay. I am Diné, which is Navajo, and Quechua. My clans are Hashklishni, which is the Mud Clan, and Todechini, which is Bitter Water. I am a recent graduate of Stanford University. I come from a long line of Indigenous educators. My mother is an elementary school teacher, and my dad is a professor. So I've grown up in many classroom settings. We Are Water Protectors. I can hardly look at the cover of We Are Water Protectors without coming to tears. It was a book that I would have had in my my bookshelf at home. I I love, can't rave about We Are Water Protectors enough. And so, yeah, my first job out of college was at the Water Protector Legal Collective. I first started college in 2016 when WPLC first came about out of Standing Rock. And I'm the comms person at WPLC. So to give a little bit of background on who we are at the Water Protector Legal Collective, the Water Protector Legal Collective is an Indigenous-led nonprofit. We provide support and advocacy for Indigenous peoples and original nations, the earth and climate justice movements. While most of our clients are Indigenous peoples, we also, kind of think as Mother Earth as our client, legal client, right? We first arrived at the request of tribal leadership, and we set up the first legal tent at Standing Rock. And we've providing legal support ever since to the water protector movement. We had upwards of 800 plus cases that came out of Standing Rock, most of which were successful, favorable cases. In addition to our core legal support, we recognize that education and skill development for Indigenous peoples is a center component of our work. So we actively work with volunteers, with interns, anybody that wants to get involved with the water protector movement, learn about the work that we do, learn about some of the legal research that we do, writing, workshops, things like that. Because sharing this legal information, and you talked about SCOTUS earlier, but like with the recent SCOTUS decisions, a lot of Indian country and a lot of what we've been wanting to do is kind of turn that legal language into what we call layman's terms or real English, right? Like we want to give this legal education that is so has so many barriers to it, and especially like as Indigenous peoples, it's hard, to see West Virginia versus the EPA and even understand what's going on. Like, what does that mean? Biden cannot, doesn't have as many tools to combat climate change. How and why? And so we, take a lot of steps to really educate our community via social media, via our mailing list, etc. So we're a legal nonprofit, but we're also doing some advocacy and educational work because we want everybody to understand and come and join us. So like we see in the book, We Are Water Protectors, Standing Rock sent out a call to those who were willing to answer. And in turn, the significance of Standing Rock's history or part in history has awakened a movement calling for change. And this call has brought forth many avenues, right? That now we're having to face avenues like Line 3. We're seeing a lot of things happening in Ecuador, etc. And before I get into how little kiddos can get involved with the water protector movement, something at WPLC that we like to share with everyone is that the front lines are everywhere. You don't have to be able-bodied. You don't have to be, have the privilege to go out into a protest or camp at Standing Rock or camp at Line 3. You can do your part and your work right from the comfort of your own home. We understand that a lot of us are mothers. We have, dependents. There's a lot of barriers that are keeping us from running to the front lines. And so, for example, like my work is mostly done behind a desk. I work out of Los Angeles, California. I do all of the press releases, social media, writing, pretty much all of like the research that happens behind WPLC. That is like legal research that's coming, from me and our cooperating attorneys. And I consider that to be, working towards this movement, even though I'm not a protester that is chaining myself to machinery. So everybody has a place in the movement, whether it's protesting, whether it's donating or fundraising in your community, whether it's cooking or cleaning at camp. We have a lot of grandmas and a lot of moms who come and just cook and clean at Standing Rock or just cook and clean at Line 3. And it's even just being aware about the struggle and sharing it with your community, talking about it with your classmates. That makes a huge difference. As Indigenous peoples, and especially as an Indigenous person that went to a primarily white elite institution, right? We're very small. We're very, very super small community. I think at Stanford, it was like 0.1% of the Stanford population, right? So it meant so much to me that my non-native friends came out to events that I held, like Fry Bread Fridays, and tried my food and learned about my struggle and wanted to engage with my community in a way that I had never ever seen before, right? I come from a primarily Native community. My family's Indigenous. I'm used to that type of homey feeling. So it's beautiful. And I think, going to Line 3 and having friends who went to Standing Rock, they had similar experiences, right? Non-Indigenous people who were willing to put in the work, put their bodies literally on the line so that they could forward an Indigenous-led movement. Okay, so here are 4 ways that I think you could just be like a water protector. So number 1, and maybe it would be great if I could put this link in the chat. Let me pull it up. Sorry. So if you visit native-land.ca, I just direct message it to someone. Never mind. Native-land.ca. You can find out whose land you're on. So my family is from the Navajo Nation. Our struggles usually have to do with infrastructure, right? I come from a reservation that is very rural. Many people in our community literally haul their water every single morning that they use. And we also have a lot of contaminated water due to uranium mining. So if you were, somewhere in northern Arizona, that could be something that you learned about, or maybe sent money to a place like Dig Deep project. They do a lot of things on the Navajo reservation. And another place that I've lived here in Northern California, Muwekma Ohlone land. The Muwekma Ohlone right now, they're fighting for federal recognition, right? They're not a federally recognized tribe, even though they have a vibrant community, a vibrant culture. So federal recognition kind of gives you like a stamp of approval from the nation state, which is the United States. And so it's really important for these communities to be federally recognized as Indigenous peoples, or the legal term being Indian. So it's really important that wherever you go, even if you go on vacation somewhere, or you're visiting, or you're learning about, California, or you're learning about the East Coast, that you're learning also about those Indigenous peoples and those Indigenous tribes and the struggles that they're facing, because they could deal with water, or they could not deal with water necessarily, but deal with other things that end up implicating water struggles. Great. Number 2, supporting water struggles throughout the United States and the world. So right now, in 2022, even though there's no longer a camp set up at Standing Rock, we are dealing with the Standing Rock aftermath. So the company that runs the Dakota Access Pipeline, they're called Energy Transfer Partners. They have subpoenaed lots of different organizations. So we're dealing with legal battles. And we're also dealing with a civil suit. You can look it up. It's called Dundon v. Kirschmeyer. On an incident at Standing Rock, there were water protectors who were severely brutalized by the police. And so we're fighting for their rights to this day, right? We just filed an appeal. We're just hearing back from the 8th Circuit. We're still dealing with that whole legal mess today. I wanted to talk about what's going on Oahu in Hawaii. We have connections to the Sierra Club of Hawaii and the Oahu Water Protectors. What's really great about their work is that they are totally Kanaka Maoli, that is the Native Hawaiian. They're totally Native Hawaiian led, and they use a lot of Native Hawaiian words in their water protection. They've even translated the phrase "water is life" in their protests. And so Red Hill is where there was Pearl Harbor on Oahu, and they left these fuel tanks that were massive, and they dumped them in the water. And so now the jet fuel that was in those fuel tanks is seeping slowly into that water, and it's poisoning families. It's not just poisoning, right, Kanaka Maoli families, it's poisoning military families that are still there on that Pearl Harbor base. It's poisoning tourists that come to Oahu to visit, beautiful Hawaii. So that's another, place that you could learn about or get involved in. That's a place that we're, really working towards. Line 3, again, there's no more camps on line 3, but we're still dealing with the cases that came from that. Thankfully, we just announced this past week that there were several cases dismissed. There were Anishinaabe water protectors who moved their cases to White Earth Tribal Court, which is a great move for tribal sovereignty. And on tribal sovereignty grounds, those water protectors had their cases entirely dismissed. So that's like a huge win for water protectors. We were so excited to announce that this past week. So that's what's happening at Red Hill. We still have more cases to go, or I'm sorry, line 3. That's what's happening at line 3. We still have lots of cases, but that was a great win. And an international place that we're, keeping our eye on right now is Ecuador. So we represented on Stephen Donzinger's appellate team. Stephen Donzinger was a human rights attorney who was wrongfully prosecuted by Chevron for winning a case in Ecuador, and then they in turn prosecuted Stephen Donzinger. It's a really long legal mess, but we're watching Ecuador. Right, those people are protesting because of the oil pipelines in Ecuador, that we're now seeing the effects of cancer in their communities due to the oil contamination in that water. Okay, moving on. Number 3, find a creative way to do your part and share it. And sharing it is like the most important part of finding a creative way to do your part. So we recommend things like beach cleanups, recycling art projects, Meatless Mondays, using a reusable water bottle. This one is my turning red one, and sharing it with your classmates, sharing it with your community, with whoever you want to talk to about how you are doing your part to better the environment. And number 4, finally, connect with a national organization that is doing water sovereignty work. So like WPLC, you can join our email list, follow us on social media, visit our website. We're always posting new stuff because right now we're moving into an era of trying to be more on the offense rather than constantly on the defense. Legal work historically is very much on the defense. Someone's arrested. Okay, now we're called in to do some work, right? And we want to become more on the offense, doing know your rights trainings for Indigenous groups or other groups that want to protest, doing legal education like what we just did with our SCOTUS review of the recent decisions, and amplifying Indigenous artists, Indigenous water protectors, Indigenous chefs. We have a series coming out soon on Indigenous chefs, which I'm really excited about, and also Indigenous comedians. Like yesterday, it was the late Charlie Hill's 71st. It would have been his 71st birthday, and we shared, some of his stand-up comedy because it's not, it can't always be bad, right? So doing that type of work too is so important. Amplifying Indigenous voices in any way that you can is so important. So thank you so much for having me. I will leave my contact information in the chat and also some links. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for being here. That was wonderful. Ellie, do you want to introduce Carole?
Oh, well, I thought you were.
Okay, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
All right.
Like,
Well,
do you want to? But
Hi.
hi.
It's okay.
But let me introduce Carole, I guess.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah. So she is the author of the book. And so we are like, one thing I love about our book club is we get to interact with the author and ask them questions on how, the process, and learn a little bit more of details about that, and why you started it to write it, and like what inspired you. So yeah, we would love to know a little bit more of like the background of the book, and anything else that you would like to share with us, and also any like what's, if you're having anything in the pipeline that we need to also look out for too. So yeah, so welcome.
do you want to
Hi,
start?
yeah.
Do you want to start by telling us sort of your connection to the whole Standing Rock and how you got
Sure.
involved and like how it led to this book? And
Yeah, sure.
throwing out questions.
Yeah, no worries. Well, yes, hi, hello, I'm Carole Lindstrom. Thank you for having me. I'm really happy to be here with you. I'm the author of We Are Water Protectors, as you know, which is illustrated by the amazing Michaela Goad, who, as you know, received the Caldecott, which I think is so proud of her. Anyway, excuse me. Well, I am an Anishinaabe Métis. My mother, my family are Turtle Mountain. I'm a citizen of the Turtle Mountain Band of Ojibwe, which is close to what is Canada, but which really wasn't, to us, it's just Turtle Island. Anyway, so yeah, and my mother grew up in North Dakota there, and then she met my dad and they moved to Nebraska. So I didn't grow up near reservation. My mother grew up there. I grew up near well, like a small town in Omaha, but I was like the only Indian kid that I knew too, kind of in my area, and I was very, 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 very badly picked on. Yes, bad, bullied. Where I'm sure, and books really saved my life. I mean, if it wasn't for the library and being able to go down the street when it came down the street, I don't know how I would have managed, because that's where you found me most of the weekends. Like I'd be in the stacks, just grabbing books off the shelf, whatever looked good. I didn't care if it was nonfiction, just whatever. I would just spend my whole days in there reading the books and then trying to, slug them home and read them. So yeah, books were always important to me. And I think as a young person, I never saw myself in books. I grew up a long time ago, many moons ago, in the 60s. And books for us Native children were not, we were not portrayed in the best way. We were always the stereotypical savage or the wild Indian, so books like that really harmed me as a child. Like I think Little House on the Prairie is one that just still to this day have a lot of hard problems with, because I wanted to escape my, where I was in a way, but then at the same time, when I tried to, I was seen as this wild person and savage, and I didn't understand. And I couldn't ask my mother. My mother didn't understand because my grandmother was forced into Indian boarding school, of course, and all that was gone. And so I kind of, just grew up not knowing who I was, and my mom not really knowing, because, right? I mean, it was a lot of things, a lot of shame, a lot of racism, a lot of things going on. So then, I just, I thought one day maybe I'll write for adults, just because I love books so much. And then when I had my son, who is now 15, I started reading books again, through his eyes. And I started realizing, there still needs we still need help in the publishing world. Back even 15 years ago, in terms of what children are reading, and in terms of who we are as people, Native peoples, I still wasn't seeing me. And I still wasn't seeing, and then, and like, well, where are we? And I don't want my son not to see us, and I don't want the world to not see us as still here, because so many times people have said that. I can't believe you're still here. Oh, yes, we are, but not seen as the poor, the historical wearing buckskin, like we're vibrant parts of the world. And so then Standing Rock, what happened in 2016, what is really what I just, when that happened, when the camps was set up, I believe it was April of 2016, I think, is that right, Nishoni? I didn't learn about it till June, so 2 months later. And I just didn't understand. It was a small camp at the time, but I kept looking like, where is this? Like, why isn't the national media picking this up? Like, this is huge stuff. Like, this is water. We're not just talking about a few people's water. We're talking about water for affects us all, right? And so I started doing more researching into it and reading about it and learning more about it, reaching out to people at Standing Rock, and became very dear friends with Washday Win Young, who's a dear friend of mine. Many people from there I consider my family. I'll probably cry if I talk more. They are my family. Phyllis, I cannot speak enough about the bravery and unity. Anyway, I'll cry, I swear. So anyway, as all this was happening, I wanted to go, but I live in the DC area. So like, well, I can't do anything. What can I do? My son was 8 at the time, and I was taking him here to the protests at the White House, which I was so wonderful to be able to take him. And so I know that Tara House goes here. We have Bernie Sanders. I see a picture of her. So all these people I was seeing and I was meeting, through social media. But again, I'm like, why isn't the world understanding what is going on here? I just couldn't get it, and tribes were coming from all over, all the federally recognized tribes, pretty much probably all the non-recognized tribes, tribes from all over the world were coming to this. And I'm thinking, well, so like, why don't people really care? When is the world going to get this? And that's when I really thought, well, maybe I'll write a book. And I had written books. I had a book published in 2013 with a really small publisher in Canada, which is called Pemmican Publishing. But, that's all I knew to do. I felt so helpless. I thought, well, if I write a book, maybe one person will read it, and maybe someone said, that's just a good, point to young people that think you can't change the world. You can by a book and one story. Because when I wrote this manuscript, I just thought, I'm writing words on paper. That's all it was. But it was my heart, and it's what I wanted to say and wanted to do, and what I know was happening at Standing Rock, and what I know what they were fighting for. So I just tried to put all that into a book. And this is, and it came up, I found an agent this way. I met Michaela, the amazing illustrator. And, I was just hopeful. And the book came out right when the pandemic hit, March of 2020. So I thought, oh man, what a terrible time. No one's going to hear. We were supposed to go to Standing Rock. Michaela and I were supposed to go to the elementary school there, and we were supposed to have a big event, and Macmillan was going to do this big thing. And then every day I was getting all these things. Well, this is canceled, and that's canceled. Like, oh. So one day we're going to get to Standing Rock for sure, because my people are Turtle Mountain, and they're in North Dakota. So North Dakota, they're very special to me. And I was able to go to Washday's graduation from the University of New Mexico, which was very, very much a big honor for me, because she was a big part, as I was saying, of Standing Rock. So she graduated with her law degree. Oh my gosh. So big things are happening, and you, Najoni, are doing huge things. I'm so proud of you, because there is so much work to be done. And I think one thing I love that you said, all the things you said about what you can do. But I think what I always like to tell people too, it is exactly what you said. And oftentimes when I speak about, children are like, well, what can we do? And I always say, well, it's more than just turning the water off. It's more than just, conserving water. It's more, it goes deeper than that. And it goes to really, what is your relationship with the land? What is your relationship with the water? How you see these things when you wake up in the morning? Do you look at the trees and think what a gift you are for being here, and for the shade you give, and the homes for the plants and the animals, or the birds and the insects? Do you look at the air and the sun as gifts, or, how do you see all those things? Is the water a gift to you? And, what is that relationship just to the simplest form, I think? And where does your water come from? Is there a reservoir? How does it get to you? How important is that water to be kept safe? There's a lot of places around where I live where reservoirs have a lot of runoff from agriculture, and that's terrible. That agriculture runoff is horrible for the planet and us. And so we have to find ways. There are ways that we can make this stop, and we can stop this. We first of all have to know it exists. And then we have to try to do something about it. And I have met so many young people. I just met someone when I was in Bowling Green, and this young college guy was like, we're going to get all the algae out of the water. He developed this thing so it's all natural made. And it's like, he's doing all these things that the algae came from the runoff from the farms, when they just flooded some of these agricultural areas. And anyway, so there's things that can be done. I think there's a really almost needing to go back, like I said, to just the simplest form of how do I look at the land? Do I look at it as a reciprocal relationship? Do I give as much as I take? Because if you take more than you give, then that's part of the problem with the planet and what we're experiencing right now, right? You can only take so much from anything that lives. And there's going to start being some sort of, you can only pick so much, right? And then pain starts happening. And that's what's happening to Mother Earth. We got to stop picking, and we got to start figuring out what we're going to do and solve this in a way that it's healthy for all of us, right? Because we're only this is when we say water is life, we're not just talking about a group of people, native peoples or non-natives. We're talking about all of us. Every single one of us lives and breathes. Our plants, our trees, our animals, our cats and our dogs, our mothers and fathers and grandmothers. The next 7 generations is how we should always look at how we do things on this earth, and how what I do affect my child's 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 child. Because then you always know in your heart, I'm doing the right thing. Because if I'm always looking at my child's child, I can only want what's good for them. And what's good for them is water and right, and earth and air, all the other stuff. The money, the children, they don't get bogged down with that. And that's one thing I love about talking to young people about, like, they just don't get bogged down with all that stuff like the economy. They're just like, water is important. My cat needs water. My dog needs water. So therefore we need water. They don't think about economy and money and oil and, no, it's just, and I really wish that we could sort of, we can make this work. We got to stop doing what we're doing because it's not doing. Yeah, we can't make little small band-aid fixes, it has to be big thinking fixes, because I know the young people today. They ask me sometimes. I had a young person once, it was so funny. I was doing a school Zoom visit and he was like, I don't know, maybe 10. He's like, well, my question is, why are you talking to us? What are you talking to us about? We can't do anything about it. And I said, oh, contraire. You can do everything about it. Exactly what Nijoni said. Standing Rock started as a youth-led movement. The reason why the world whoever started waking up, the few people that started waking up to it, it was started by the young people and the ride, and then kind of the world, young people, you have a voice, you do. I mean, you're a future. Once you start talking to each other and you start finding your friends that feel the same way, because they are there, I know they are, then the world is in your hands, and it's in better hands. I know, I've seen the future. And you are better hands. Anyway, I could babble more, but yes, if you have any questions, I probably babbled on long enough. Yes.
So, I have one idea for what we all could do, or a child could do. We could all ask our parents just to test the water. Test the water for in your home, and then maybe raise money and test one other place. Like, for example, we tested our water because we were worried about lead, but then our elementary schools usually didn't get tested, but they finally tested the drinking fountain at the elementary schools, and they found that half the elementary schools in my community, the water was not healthy. So if you just maybe just do two, like encourage, and it wasn't expensive. You just had to get a little tiny sample and mail it in quickly. And I think it was like $15 or $25. But if everyone did maybe two, one for yourself to see how your own water is, and then just to learn about like what kind of contaminants are common where I live, and then pick one other place that maybe you're not sure if anyone's testing it, like the water fountain at the park or the water fountain at your school, and just see, just within your own community, because we all think, oh my gosh, it's terrible, but that's not really happening to me. But then you might find that like it is happening to me, and I thought, like our water comes from a reservoir, the Quabbin Reservoir, and there's no like media attention that the water isn't safe. And in fact, the Quabbin Reservoir water is very, very clean. They don't even have to like do additional processing. It's so clean. And yet the elementary school, probably because they have pipes, half the elementary school water fountains. So how do they fix it? They just turned it off. So like now it's like, you gotta bring your own water, I mean, that's not actually a great solution, but that's what they did. But then it raises for all kids in elementary school who get thirsty, why is my water not safe to drink? Does anyone else have ideas of what they want to do, or just to talk about if they're inspired to get involved, or just what they learned? Does anyone want to share? Okay, well, let's go back to Carole. Carole, why don't you tell us what kind of impact did this book make after it got out there, and that it was as big as the water movement itself? You know what I mean? It won the Caldecott. It's the highest honor, and it is for the illustrator. But honestly, the Caldecott is awarded to the best book, the most excellent book. And to me, a book is always the words and the pictures. You don't see a Caldecott book where the pictures are unbelievable and the words are really bad. So I a lot of times authors credit their illustrator, but it isn't just the illustrator. And then how has that affected you? What are you working on now?
Wow, yeah, everything's gone crazy after that. I'm very busy now, which is good. I am. Want to know what is really weird is that I just now, like last week at the American Library Awards, I just got to celebrate with Michaela in person. It's been 2.5 years.
You had like a delayed one, right? They did a retroactive, right? Because yours got canceled.
Yeah, I got canceled, and then all the conferences or any kind of book things that led up, afterwards, where all this other stuff was canceled. So we haven't seen each other. And then she's in Alaska. She's Tlingit, so she lives in Alaska. Excuse me. So she doesn't get here often. It's quite a big, journey for her. So, so she was here in DC, and I live here, so we were able to celebrate in person, and it was so wonderful to just be together and share the, with the team that help with the book, because I always, it's not just my book, I always say, because I feel, it's our book. It's Michaela's
I know our Kim was a graphic designer. I know her.
Yeah.
And in fact, she was a graphic designer for Waterpress, which won the year after.
Yes.
And just sort of like an unsung hero. Like no one ever goes, oh, the graphic designer did such a great job. But I always want to point out she's also an illustrator, but
100%, exactly, good point. And I say that to people, I'm like, well, okay, so it's my book when it's on a paper. Well, when it's just words, it's just mine, because it's just text. It means nothing. It's just, it means something, but it really only means something to me because I wrote it. And then it becomes the illustrators, because the illustrator takes the words and starts to make the beauty of what they see. Then it becomes all of ours. I say, well, I'll say the hours in terms of the publishers, and because then the publisher, art director, all the amazing art. The art team gets involved. And how they put the book together. Well, I couldn't do that by myself. And neither could Michaela, you know. And then once it comes out to the reader, well, it's everybody's book. It becomes part of the world. Yeah, we, I don't know, I think since then, we did not expect this, of course, you know, a Caldecott. I mean, I said to her when I saw her artwork originally, even the sketches, I said, Caldecott. She said, no. I said, oh.
Sony, do you feel like this book helped the cause?
It definitely did. We have people that think it's associated with WPLC somehow. That's how much it was like a part of the movement. And I think what's really beautiful about We Are Water Protectors is, like Carole said, and I included it in the chat, Standing Rock was originally an Indigenous youth-led movement. Right. And these Indigenous students, they wrote these beautiful letters, and I included them in the chat again, to President Obama at the time. To have a book that not only we can share with Indigenous children, right? Like I said, I would have loved a book like this when I was young. But we have a book that explains to non-Indigenous children, you know, this struggle that I think maybe some non-Indigenous kids who weren't watching the news or weren't talking to their parents about Standing Rock missed at the time, in 2016. So it's going to be a book that, you know, kind of keeps that movement. Even when we're done with all the legal battles from Standing Rock, it's going to keep it alive, which is really beautiful.
Okay, I know Mark has a question.
Oh, just a quick comment. We were asking, what can children do? I'm the president of the Wisconsin Animal Protection Society, and what interested me in this book is it's a book about the earth, the environment, animals for children. If children would just read these books, read more of these books, share them with others, just to be aware of water, the earth, the non-human animals, and that can shape whatever direction they go in. So that's why I probably will post this book on our website, just because the younger the people become aware of the earth, the animals, the water, the better. So thank you very much.
Can you put your organization in the chat so we can?
Oh, sure. Yep.
And I think that is a great connection because kids can really relate to animals and feel a lot of empathy and connect animals to water, to the earth. It's very concrete. So thank you. That's a great suggestion.
Oh, sure. I'll put that in there. But yeah, so children don't, even if they don't have to feel like if they're not out there protesting, they're not doing anything. They're learning and having some fun, reading about these things that are so important to everyone and to them. So yeah.
I think we're coming up on the hour. Does anyone have any final questions or comments or? Okay, so before we go, I just want to introduce the book for next month. It is The Fearless Flights of Hazel Ying Lee by Julie Leung. So next month, we're actually celebrating, I think there's like 2 holidays, I can't remember the exact wording, but it's female aviation and sort of like women in history. And I was like, oh, perfect. This book nails both of it. And it's a woman, a Chinese American, who was one of the, I think it's the very first pilot for the military, who also died while flying the plane in a terrible accident. But I thought that would be fun to learn about for August. So I hope you guys will come back for that. Any parting words, Ellie or Carole?
So we have to have a winner.
Oh, true that. And I will mail it out tomorrow. Once you choose it, I will mail this out. Oh wait, no, wrong book. Sorry, wrong book.
So yeah, so I think our winner this month is going to be Lily, who
Yay, she's
said
5,
hello.
right?
So she's 5. So I want to send an email to her mom. And Lily, I know you're probably listening, but you're the winner. So congratulations.
Enjoy.
We will get you the book and the water bottle. And yeah, we're just excited that you get to learn, as you know, it's so important to learn important issues through children's books. I think we all are at the same place where wish we could see more of this, but now we are. So this generation for students, they're going to get it. So I'm very excited that, we have this book club and these amazing authors and activists working together. I think pairing you two up for tonight's event was really amazing to hear your stories, your personal stories. It really makes it more real for those who, aren't familiar. So I think for me, I personally wow, I really am getting educated every month. So I appreciate your time and thank you for everyone to come. And we will record this and get it edited and hopefully be on the website and walking other people's shoes in a few months. So, but I hope you guys have a great night and hopefully you guys see you soon.
Yes, I mean, the character is an inspiration and both of you are as well. So thank you so much for just lighting the way for us to know how we can help. I think it just makes us feel more empowered and know that we can all make a difference. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. I really appreciate being here with you all tonight. Thank you. Have a good night. Keep well, everybody.
Yes, thank you for those coming from Germany and Hawaii.
Yes, be well. Go to sleep.
Yes, go to bed.
Night, night.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Oh, love it. Bye.
So amazing. Hi, Lily, you're the winner.
Yeah.
Thank you.